Hello everybody, Nathaniel from RC Insight here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the Perplexes Rebel / Rookie, which I have here in my hands, and I'm going to be doing it with some commentary, which is a bit of departure from what I've done in the past. So this is really, I think, going to be for my longtime subscribers. It's going to be a little bit more niche, but I'm doing this video sort of as an experiment to see how it goes. And if this is something you guys like, then it's something I'll consider doing for the other Perplexes as well. Now, quickly before we get started here, I just want to say I've avoided doing commentary in the past for a couple reasons. One, when I did a lot of my walkthroughs, I was just a lot younger, and so my commentary wasn't as good. I wasn't as confident, and so I chose to do video only and just have music tracks playing in the background, and that seems to have been a very successful format for these walkthroughs. It was also in part because as I'm doing a walkthrough, I was trying to watch the walkthrough through the camera rather than just playing it in my own hands in front of me. And so watching it through the camera and solving it through the camera is a very different experience, and then it allowed me to focus on the camera angles, making sure I got everything in the video. And again, I think that worked really well. So this is going to be an experiment. We'll see how this goes. You're not going to have all the same camera angles, but you are going to get my insights into the maze. And I thought the Rookie is the perfect one to try this out with because it's probably the Perplexus that I'm most familiar with. So with that in mind, let's just get started here. This is the Perplexes Rookie / Rebel. It's also now known as the Perplexus, or not even the Perplexus, the Rubik's Trax 70, which I'm going to cover that in a future video. But so there's quite a few different versions of this maze. The most important thing to know is that it is 1 through 70, and there are no checkpoints. You get off to a fairly easy start here. One of the first interesting obstacles is at 6 here. You drop into this little thing. Then you got to flip it over sideways a little bit carefully so you don't fall out the bottom. But you do have a wall there to catch you nice and easily. We get into one of what I call these butterfly sections. The Rookie here is just, as the name suggests, a really nice introduction into a whole lot of Perplexes features. Lots of flat track here to navigate around, and lots of walled sections. So for the most part, it's pretty easy. There's not a lot of spots to fall off. I would imagine I'm going to do this in one take. It's the Perplexes I'm most familiar with. You get a nice little sort of light stairs section here. It's a really simple introduction again. Very easy. A lot of this track has walls and even grooved sections in the middle, so it's kind of keeping you in place. I do like the color scheme of the original Rookie. It's maybe not the most cohesive set of colors with the red, the green, the orange, or sorry, the yellow and the purple. But overall, like, I like it. Some of the modern recolors aren't my favorite. The colors of that new Rubik's Trax are really interesting. This is kind of the first challenging-ish obstacle, I would say, here. It's another one of these butterfly sections. It's a half section. It's coming around that corner. You got to get enough speed so that you don't get stuck on the little lip, but not so much speed that you go flying off. And I think that's always the challenge with these parts of sections is controlling the speed so you don't go flying off the track, and you reversing you both sides here. I don't know if you can actually tell. This Rookie was dropped a long time ago. I've had it for like probably a decade now. So there's actually a slight break. I don't know if you can see it. There you can. Right at the bottom there. A slight break. So it actually makes the obstacle even a little bit more challenging on this one, which is kind of fun. This is the first section right here, 31, that when I first played this kind of got me because I didn't know where the marble went. It's not particularly hard once you know where to go, but you drop in here and then the marble loops around and you have to turn it from right to left here all the way around so that you can land safely on the bottom. Once you figure out where that marble goes, it becomes super easy. But that was the first place when I got this. I think it only took me like 4 or 5 attempts to beat this, even when I got it the very first time, because I had already had the original. But that was one of the few spots that kind of tripped me up there a little bit. We just roll around here. You're getting a glimpse of our first sort of one-wall sections. Again, like I said, very introductory Perplexus. Then a little bit staircase here with a drop section at the end. But again, so controlled through this puzzle that it's very, very easy. Like, I'd say it's actually hard to mess that up. The drop section, it sets you up perfectly to drop you straight down on the track. You got nice tall walls there, so yeah, not particularly difficult. We keep going through here now. We're over halfway done at this point. here we have the hot dog, which I've dubbed it. You got to be a little bit careful dropping in here because you go to the end of the track and it kind of sets you up at the wall end is a little past the groove in the track. So it sits you up on top of it. And then you got to just make sure it sits in nicely. And again, you don't get too much speed as you come around here. A fun little section. It's a little tighter with some shorter walls to go through the bottom there. Then you work your way all the way around the hot dog here. Again, controlling your speed is the most important part. I'm going slow here to sort of demonstrate it on video. And then we kind of get out of that. That's another one of the more interesting obstacles, I would say, here. Now, probably the most interesting obstacle is right here at 48. We've got this tube section. It's the first ever tube section on a Perplexus. The original didn't have a tube section. Of course, many of the subsequent Perplexuses have, and I've kind of goofed this up because it's been a long time since I've done it. So I did that in reverse order that I would normally do. But it's relatively simple. There's like 2 turns here. So pretty easy to keep track of where the marble is and not fall out. Like I said, I actually did that backwards of the way I would normally. But then we drop into the reverse side of that yellow stair section. We swing around here and we get back to our last usage of the hot dog. Again, you got to be careful. You see how it sits up on the edge there, just inside? I think you can see that. So you just got to let it find the groove, and then you can swing it around. Now, I love going through here fast. If you actually swing around at the right speed, you can fly right into the little purple section, and it can just drop straight down onto 56 here, where we get our first true one-wall section. You got to hug the outside as you swing around. Then we go back to this purple stairs, more narrower, but again, another one-wall section. So you can just see starting to introduce a few new elements, kind of ratchet it up to that higher level. Then here, I would argue the most challenging obstacle of the puzzle. You got to do that butterfly maze the whole way around. Butterfly maze? I don't know what I'm saying there. I'm concentrating now. And again, mine is broken, so and that's what you don't want to do right there. You notice I didn't have enough speed, and this is even worse on mine because the track is broken. So it's a little wider than it would, but you got to get enough speed there to get through so you don't get stuck, but not so much speed you go flying off. And I'd say that's kind of, we're basically at the end now. We come back through this other narrow section on the bottom. Again, just controlling your speed. Another one-wall section, a slight bit of a ramp there. We swing around. We repeat the same thing on the other side. And some more one-wall sections before we finally do this. I wouldn't call it a stair section, but it drops down a couple times. But again, the walls are set nice and high, so you're not really going to go flying off. Even this last little section, it's designed to catch you. You can't really mess it up. You swing around, and just like that, you're at the end at 70. So that is my commentary walkthrough of the Perplexes Rookie Rebel, the Rubik's Tracks 70. Like I said, bit of a different style of a video. I think this commentary might go a little bit different for some of the bigger mazes too, because I'm not going to be able to just one-shot them like this. This is a one take. Obviously, no mistakes. Pretty easy. The Rookie also doesn't have a lot of super interesting things going on in it. You know, I'll talk about the interesting and unique obstacles in my reviews. But this is just kind of a bit of a walkthrough as I'm pacing through it and as I'm going through the obstacles themselves, talking about them, which is interesting. But yeah, there's not a ton to talk about on this one either. So if this is something that is of interest to you, if this is a format that you guys kind of like, let me know, and I'll consider doing some similar commentary walkthroughs for other Perplexuses. If this is something you like, let me know what you would want to see a commentary for next. Because I really don't know which one I would go to from here. But definitely some more interesting things to talk about in the other ones. Maybe some of the areas that I really struggled with in the past that took some time to memorize, figure out. But like I said, I think I completed this on the third or fourth try, even when I first got it, because I had already mastered the original at that point. So yeah, I'll leave this video here. Like I said, give me some feedback if you liked it. Leave a like, comment your thoughts below. With all that said, I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see if this is a series that continues. So subscribe so you don't miss future uploads, whether the commentary walkthroughs continue or not. There's going to be tons of other Perplexes content coming on my channel soon. I'm getting back into the groove of uploading, so subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.